6430. What action is appropriate if you deviate from an air traffic control instruction during an emergency and are given priority? A. Submit a report to the nearest FAA regional office within 48 hours. B. Submit a report to the manager of the air traffic control facility within 24 hours. C. If requested, submit a detailed report within 4 hours to the manager of the air traffic control facility. The correct answer is C. If you deviate from an air traffic control (ATC) instruction during an emergency and are given priority, it is appropriate to, if requested, submit a detailed report within 48 hours to the manager of the air traffic control facility. In emergency situations, the safety of the aircraft and its occupants takes precedence, and deviations from ATC instructions may be necessary. The correct option addresses the appropriate action to take after such a deviation. Specifically, when priority is granted by if requested by ATC, it is important to provide a detailed report of the incident within 48 hours. This report should be submitted to the manager of the air traffic control facility involved in the situation. The purpose of this report is to provide a comprehensive account of the circumstances surrounding the deviation and the reasons for the actions taken during the emergency. Submitting a detailed report allows ATC to have a clear understanding of the events and the decision-making process that occurred during the emergency. This information is valuable for analysis, evaluation, and improving the overall safety and efficiency of air traffic control operations. It is worth noting that the requirement to submit a detailed report within 48 hours applies specifically to cases where priority has been granted by ATC. If priority is not granted or if the deviation from ATC instructions occurred without an emergency situation, different reporting procedures may apply. By adhering to the appropriate reporting requirements, pilots contribute to the continuous improvement of air traffic control procedures and safety measures, ensuring that lessons learned from emergencies are effectively shared and incorporated into future practices. 6412. Which pre-flight action is required for every flight? A. Check weather reports and forecasts. B. Determine runway length at airports of intended use. C. Determine alternatives if the flight cannot be completed. The correct answer is B. Determining the runway length at airports of intended use is a pre-flight action that is required for every flight. Before undertaking any flight, it is essential for pilots to conduct thorough pre-flight preparations to ensure the safety and efficiency of their operations. While all the options listed can be important considerations during pre-flight, the correct option emphasizes the significance of determining the runway length at airports of intended use as a mandatory pre-flight action. Knowing the runway length at the airports where the pilot plans to take off, land, or make intermediate stops is crucial for flight planning and decision-making. Runway length directly affects the aircraft's performance, including takeoff and landing distances, as well as ground operations. It helps pilots assess whether the available runway length is sufficient for their aircraft's performance capabilities, taking into account factors such as aircraft weight, temperature, altitude, and any obstacles or limitations at the airport. By determining the runway length, pilots can accurately calculate the required takeoff and landing distances, ensuring they have adequate runway available to safely operate the aircraft. It enables pilots to make informed decisions regarding fuel loads, payload, approach and departure procedures, and any necessary adjustments to their flight plan based on runway limitations. Neglecting to consider runway length could result in unsafe conditions, compromised performance, or exceeding the operational limits of the aircraft. Therefore, determining the runway length at airports of intended use is an essential pre-flight action that must be conducted for every flight to ensure safe and efficient operations. 6413. The pre-flight action required by regulations relative to alternatives available if the flight cannot be completed is applicable to A. IFR flights only. B. Any flight not in the vicinity of an airport. C. Any flight conducted for hire or compensation. The correct answer is B. The pre-flight action required by regulations regarding alternatives available if the flight cannot be completed is applicable to any flight not in the vicinity of an airport. Pre-flight preparations involve considering various factors to ensure the safety and efficiency of a flight. One critical aspect is assessing alternatives available in the event that the flight cannot be completed as planned. The correct option specifies that this pre-flight action is applicable to any flight not in the vicinity of an airport. For flights conducted in the vicinity of an airport, there are usually multiple suitable landing options nearby, providing a higher degree of flexibility if the original plan cannot be executed. However, when operating in areas where airports or suitable landing sites may be limited or not readily accessible, identifying alternative options becomes crucial. By conducting pre-flight actions related to available alternatives, pilots consider factors such as nearby airports, landing areas, emergency landing sites, or suitable off-airport locations. This assessment enables them to have contingency plans in place and make informed decisions if unforeseen circumstances or emergencies arise during the flight. The requirement to consider alternatives is not specific to instrument flight rules, IFR, flights or flights conducted for hire or compensation. It applies to any flight that is not in the vicinity of an airport, regardless of the flight rules or the purpose of the flight. Considering alternatives helps enhance safety and operational preparedness by ensuring that pilots have planned for potential diversions or unexpected situations. By having alternative options in mind, pilots can respond effectively to changing circumstances and make decisions that prioritize the safety of the flight and its occupants. 6464. When an aircraft is being flown over water, under what circumstances must approved flotation gear be readily available to each occupant? A. At night and beyond gliding distance from shore. B. Anytime the aircraft is beyond power-off gliding distance from shore. C. When operating for hire beyond power-off gliding distance from shore. The correct answer is C. Approved flotation gear must be readily available to each occupant when operating an aircraft for hire beyond power-off gliding distance from shore while flying over water. When flying over water, especially when the aircraft is beyond the distance that can be covered by gliding in the event of a power loss, the availability of approved flotation gear becomes crucial for the safety of the occupants. The correct option states that this requirement applies when operating the aircraft for hire beyond power-off gliding distance from shore. Operating an aircraft for hire implies conducting flights where passengers are transported in exchange for compensation or payment. In such scenarios, the safety of passengers is of utmost importance, and having readily available approved flotation gear becomes a regulatory requirement. Approved flotation gear refers to equipment specifically designed and authorized for use during emergencies over water. This may include life vests, life rafts, or other flotation devices that meet the regulatory standards and provide adequate buoyancy and protection for each occupant. The requirement to have approved flotation gear readily available is not limited to nighttime operations, but extends to any flight conducted for hire beyond power-off gliding distance from shore. This ensures that in the event of an emergency, such as an engine failure, the occupants have immediate access to flotation gear that can assist them in surviving and awaiting rescue while over water. By having approved flotation gear readily available, aircraft operators and pilots fulfill their responsibility to enhance the safety of passengers during flights conducted over water beyond power-off gliding distance from shore, especially when operating for hire. 6414. Which statement is true regarding the use of seat belts and shoulder harnesses? A. Crew members must keep seat belts and shoulder harnesses fastened at all times during movement on the surface. B. The pilot in command must ensure that each person on board an aircraft is briefed on how to fasten and unfasten seat belts. C. Passengers must keep seat belts fastened at all times during movement on the surface, but use of shoulder harnesses is optional. The correct answer is B. The pilot in command has the responsibility to ensure that each person on board the aircraft is briefed on how to properly fasten and unfasten seatbelts. The use of seatbelts and shoulder harnesses is a critical safety measure in aviation. The correct option highlights the responsibility of the pilot in command to provide a briefing to all individuals on board regarding the proper use of seatbelts. The pilot in command plays a crucial role in ensuring the safety of the flight and its occupants. As part of their responsibilities, they are required to conduct a pre-flight briefing that includes important safety information, including instructions on how to properly fasten and unfasten seatbelts. This briefing ensures that everyone on board is familiar with the correct procedures for securing their seatbelts. The purpose of this briefing is to educate passengers and crew members on the proper use of seatbelts, ensuring they are aware of the location of the seatbelt fasteners, how to adjust the length for a secure fit, and how to release them in case of an emergency. While the briefing focuses specifically on seat belts, the option does not exclude the use of shoulder harnesses. Shoulder harnesses are an additional safety feature that provides enhanced protection to occupants in the event of a sudden deceleration or impact. Their use, however, may depend on the specific aircraft and its equipment. In summary, the correct option emphasizes the responsibility of the pilot in command to conduct a briefing on seat belt usage, ensuring that all individuals on board are knowledgeable about how to properly fasten and unfasten seatbelts. This briefing is an important step in promoting the safety and well-being of everyone on the aircraft.